Welcome to Mortified, the Friendship Quest, a podcast where two long-distance friends bounce media recommendations, all in hopes the other will like it. I'm Aaron.
And I'm getting over a cold.
And this week, we settle down for a long winter's thirst trap with Netflix's holiday rom-com, Hot Frosty. Before we break out our EDM cover of The Sugar Plum Fairy, remember you can help us on Mortified the Legitimacy Quest by subscribing to us on YouTube, iTunes, or Spotify, or following us on Tumblr at MortifiedPod. Leyla.
Aaron.
We've made it to the end of another year.
Fucking barely.
By the skin of our teeth, we are still here.
And the tooth skin is wearing, the Sensodyne is not working.
It sure ain't, but we are here at the end of our fifth consecutive Mortified season. We've been doing this project for a while now, and it's been pretty good. Typically, we do sort of a year-end celebration. We watch some sort of Christmas/holiday movie, and we in previous times had done a bracket going over our best episodes. Not going to do that this year. We're just going to talk about some of our highlights, but it's still just a fun look back on the conversations we've had over the year. But before we do that, we're going to talk about Hot Frosty because this movie came out in, I want to say, November of 2024. There's a lot of buzz because the premise of Hot Frosty is, of course, Gretchen Wieners fucks Snowman, which is, I don't know, I think we'll talk about this throughout the episode, but that sounds like a good time to me. I don't know what you're talking about, that people are like, oh no, what a silly, a stupid, do you all not know about Hallmark movies? What are we doing here?
Yeah, I didn't really understand the hubbub around it. It sounded more B-movie than it actually was. And we'll talk about it. I found it incredibly charming.
Yeah, I thought this was a great time. Yeah, but basically, this is a Lacey Chabert, Dustin Milligan, rom-com, and it was fun. I had a great time. Do you want to do the plot summary?
I would, but I'm coughing every 5 words.
That's
so
true.
If you wouldn't mind.
Sure, that's fine. Yeah, so we'll just start with the plot summary, and we'll kind of walk through some key moments. So we're introduced to Kathy, who is played by Lacey Chabert. She owns a diner in Hope Springs, New York. It's a pretty standard Christmas town for a Christmas movie. We know that her house is very cold, and her roof is leaking. She gets up and it's 7:30, and she has to comically get on several different layers before she goes downstairs because her house is so cold. Her life's very hard. We see a black and white photo of her and a man, but there's no man in the house. So we're like, oh, okay, she's in mourning. That's very sad. And then she goes to work at the diner that she runs. I think it's just called Kathy's Diner or something.
Kathy's Cafe with a K.
Okay, yes. I don't know that we should tease the KKK alliteration that closely, Kathy, but I'll forgive you because you're in mourning.
I think 2Ks is KK Slider.
That's true.
3Ks is where you get into trouble.
Mm-hmm, fair enough. But yeah, she's a pretty typical hometown hero. She brings food to everybody. She knows everybody by name. At one point, she goes over to the people who own the store next to her, Mel and Theo. They run a store called Reclaimed Rags, which is basically Plato's Closet, if you know what that is. That might be a local thing, but it basically you give your clothes to a store and then they resell them and they give you some money for it. That's kind of what I got here. But anyway, she goes over to Mel and Theo, and she's giving them food because she's like, oh, I figured y'all were busy during the lunch rush. Here's your typical order, being very nice and neighborly. And then Mel has this conversation with Kathy, which I think is both out of line in the way that you expect, an older woman to be out of line when they realize that you're single. And also kind of a flex because Mel is like, oh, Kathy, good things happen when you're out in the cold, which is, okay, wild thing to say, firstly, Mel.
As somebody who lives in the Northeast, nope.
Incorrect. But sure. But she's like, listen, I know that, she doesn't say directly this, but she's like, I know that your husband's dead, and I get it. However, you gotta get over this. And what she does is that she's like, listen, when I decided it was time for me to have a husband, I went out on Christmas and I ran into this man, points to her husband, and is like, and now we've been married for like 3 decades or whatever. It's a wild thing to say, just to be like, oh yeah, you know, just go out on Christmas and get yourself a husband. Easy shit.
Yeah, and she's like, I wore this red scarf, and so now this red scarf came to me, and I thought of that day, and now I'm going to give it to you to kind of like pass on the look symbolically. And this has the same energy as my mom giving me relationship advice. I'm going to put on blast for a second. Which is when she met my father, he was courting her in like various different BMWs. And I am having trouble telling her that that is simply, 1, not how society in America works. And 2, I am not as like nuclear life ruiningly hot as she was in her 20s. I'm a much more accessible sexy. So it's, I understand the both sides of this equation of the wanting to give the advice and also how our friend Gretchen Wieners reacts to it.
If you would like to submit your application to court, my co-host, please at me at AAVoy on Blue Sky. Make sure you submit with 2 references, your full resume, and you know,
the
just
references have to be AFAB.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh,
They
yeah.
do.
It must be. It must not be from other dudes.
Yeah. AFAB references only, and in the grand tradition of me bleeping out my own phone number in this show, you can also just call me directly at 7.
I'm editing this episode.
I'll bleep it out before I send it to you.
Great.
I gotta edit out my coughing anyway.
Great. God. Yeah. Listen, Leyla is Layla's hanging in there, folks. Yeah, but so she does this weird thing, which is like fine, you know, it's what you do in a Hallmark movie, a Christmas movie. It's fine. I'm not mad at it. I just thought it was very funny for her to do. But anyway, that scarf becomes important because later Kathy will go like walk through the park that they've been having like a snow sculpture competition at, essentially. And you know, when she's leaving work and she notices one of the snowmen is just like built like the statue of David, fully nude with like, you know, abs that are just like, you know, he's got like an 8-pack. It's ridiculous. And she's like, oh wow, looks like you've been doing your push-ups or whatever, something really stupid. But it's again charming. It's fine. It's truly fine. And then she's like, you know what? You need this more than me. Wraps the scarf around him because I actually like that a lot because it's like, yeah, I just got a gift from somebody that I didn't want. Sure, I'll just like leave it somewhere in kind of a nice public place. And that's, of course, what turns him into a real boy. What
would you sculpt out of snow if you were entering the Hope Springs snow sculpture competition?
Oh, God. It would have to be something simple because I'm simply not a sculptor. I think it would be a 6-sided die.
Okay. I think that'd be cute.
Mm-hmm. What would you do?
Cute. I'm also not really a sculptor. Maybe like with the simplicity of a Funko Pop, I'd do like a Darth Vader, you know?
Do you know that
that'd be cute.
Today Funko Pop nearly destroyed the indie RPG scene?
No, I'm sorry. I was too busy processing the news about the man who shot the UHC CEO, like, being adjacent to people I know personally.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. I guess yours takes precedence. Never mind. Don't worry about that.
Fill me in after.
Yeah, later. We'll talk about it later. Anyway, when she puts the scarf on the man, he comes to life, and we do get this like he like slowly thaws out, and we get this EDM cover of Tchaikovsky's Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy, which is really, really funny. And he's like, you know, naked, obviously, and he's like, wow, this is great. And he like looks at some advertisements. He's like, oh, I need some clothes. I can't just have my penis out. You know,
he was already born with the shame of Eve.
Right, exactly.
Having eaten the apple.
As all humans who are born after that sin was committed are. And he's like... He's like functionally immortal. There's only one way to kill him, and that's with heat, as we'll learn later on. But like he basically falls through the like shop window here of Mel and Theo's shop.
Not a cut.
He's like completely fine, even though there's glass everywhere. It's really harrowing to watch this man walk barefoot over glass like he's in fucking Die Hard, and come out completely unscathed.
I would love like a Hallmark Die Hard.
Yeah, I mean, people always talk about how Die Hard is technically a Christmas movie, but I would like the opposite, where they make a Christmas movie that is Die Hard.
Yeah. Oh, Hallmark, call us.
Yeah,
we'll figure it out.
That's probably way easier to do than Die Hard.
Yeah, Die Hard was actually good. We just need fun.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. But yeah, basically, he's wandering around. And before he gets these clothes, though, he is spotted by an older couple. And the older man doesn't have his glasses on, so he can't like make out his face. But like later, when they're being interrogated by the police, there's just a fun throwaway line, which is like, "Oh well, you know, Mrs. What's her name didn't see him," and the police officer is like, "Well, you know, she did, but she would have had to have been looking at his face," which I was like, yeah, of course she was.
All of the old women in this movie are so horny, and it is so funny.
It's really good. It's fun. But yeah, anyway, he gets clothes, and Kathy discovers him the next morning in the park, giving like a motivational speech to the snowman and being like, "Hey, if I could do it, you could do it too," which I think is really fun. And I like Jack's character a lot here.
Yes,
he is like the epitome of what you would call a golden retriever boyfriend. He's just like so happy to talk to everyone, and like both of us independently brought this up in our notes, but like he's the born sexy yesterday trope.
Absolutely, 100%. I love it so much. Because when women are born sexy yesterday, it comes with an air of condescension and an air of, like, infantilizing.
Right.
Kathy treats him like a person who she thinks hit his head.
Right.
It's giving Titus in FFX.
Right. It's like, "Oh, okay, hey, man, you probably aren't feeling well, but we'll figure your situation out." It's not like, "Oh, you're so beautiful. Let me teach you about the world." I always think of that one Tumblr post when I think of things like that, which is like, "Has anyone ever told you you're beautiful?" "No, sir. 'Tis my first day out of doors, and Papa forbade mirrors in the house lest we fall victim to vanity." And like, I think more men should have to read posts by women just completely obliterating their weird come-ons. I think that would make you a better person.
I 100% agree. I think about that one constantly, and I also think about breasted boobily down the stairs constantly. I think those two should just be feminism.
Yes, that's my understanding of feminism, outside of being married to an actual award-winning feminist scholar. But that
casual.
Yeah. Anything that like helps men realize that women are people, I think is good. But yeah, basically we get this conversation, you know, where am I? I've just thought of women breasting boobily down the stairs, and I just completely lost my train of thought.
And now you can't edit this out, unfortunately.
No, I can't. No, I am unfortunately a typical man in many ways. Okay, yeah. She's talking. She's treating him like he's delusional, right? You said this.
Yes.
And she's like, "Okay, yeah, you seem like you're like sick or whatever. I'm going to take you to the doctor," which is a very nice thing for her to do. You should not bring strange naked men. All right, he's not naked at this point. You should still probably not bring strange men into your place of work. But you know, Kathy's being a nice person. But then he recognizes her, and he's like, "Oh yeah, you gave me the scarf." And she immediately is like, "Hey, what kind of joke is this? This is fucked up, dude. And then he's like, no, look, take this picture. You had a picture of me. And she's freaked out, but then, she doesn't quite put together what's going on, understandably. But she doesn't call the cops on him or anything. But she does warn him that Sheriff Hunter might be out looking for him, because Sheriff Hunter is very overzealous and loves to arrest people, ACAB, but we're introduced to the idea of Sheriff Hunter here. He is played by Craig Robinson, who you probably know from The Office, as well as The Cleveland Show, as well as A Hot Tub Time Machine.
The Office. I got him mixed up with the actor who plays Doug Judy in Brooklyn Nine-Nine, because the other cop is also from Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Correct.
It's Charles.
Yes, that is Joe
Latruglio, I think.
Yes. But yeah, those two are the cops in this one, and they're a very fun pair. But basically, we're introduced to the cops. At this point, Kathy takes Jack to the doctor, and the doctor, after being very impressed that Kathy was able to pull such a stud, is like, hey, let me just take your temperature real quick. It seems like you're probably not feeling well. And she's like, oh, your body temperature is 32 degrees Fahrenheit. It's below 32 degrees Fahrenheit. Your internal body temperature is freezing. That seems unhealthy. But then she's like, yeah, maybe he's just a snowman, which is very funny for a thing for a doctor to do.
Yeah, and as you said, put it in the Lancet, get it in NIH. I want to see a peer-reviewed study on NIH.gov, that's a medical marvel that you just encountered, and you're treating it very callously.
Yeah, she's she's very blasé about the whole fact that she's found a living snowman.
I think she knows she's in a Hallmark Christmas movie, right?
Right, that's the thing. I think that's the thing. Everybody here knows they're in a Hallmark. I keep saying Hallmark because it's the style.
It's the genre, yeah.
Right. But yeah, everybody here kind of knows that they're in one of these movies, which I think works really well, because nobody is trying to, everybody is giving it their all, and also nobody is taking it so seriously as to be in a different genre. They're all just kind of yeah, okay, sure, whatever. And I think that's good.
And I think there's some lessons for us to be learned in there. Sometimes snowmen just come to life. I think my only real critique of this movie is that I do wish that Jack had been just a regular 3-orb snowman.
Yeah. And
then just turned sexy. But I also respect the craftsmanship of the Adonis, or you call it the David is what you compared it to. Mm-hmm. The sculpture made out of snow. Very tastefully cut off mid-butt.
Yeah,
from the back. So the sculptor really was... Who was the sculptor?
We don't know.
The sculptor has to live in town, right?
That's true. Are they going to do a sequel where they find his dad? And it's just some 16-year-old, bisexual girl who's just oh, wow, I didn't realize I am a parent now. That's crazy.
That would be a great addition, because this is part of the Lindsay Lohan Christmas Cinematic Universe.
Mm-hmm.
I would love a movie that is whatever twink or whatever bisexual 16-year-old sculpted him. I want to see their queer college romance, and then just a photo of Kathy and Jack,
mm-hmm.
and somebody is like, who is that? That's my son,
Yes, 100%. No, we'll get there, but there actually should be a third movie of these with it's not Rachel Weisz, it's who plays
McAdams.
Yes, Rachel McAdams. Right. Then we can complete the trilogy.
Oh, and Amanda Seyfried. So there's
yes, and of course Amanda Seyfried. Yes, we got to complete all three.
And hear me out, and I know we're not at the marketing minute yet, but I feel like Amanda Seyfried's could be a Jennifer's Body sequel. Christmas horror movie in the Lindsay Lohan universe.
I'm always saying, you know what? Jennifer's Body does need a sequel. I've been saying this for years. And why not set it in the Netflix Hallmark Christmas universe?
Yes, the Lindsay Lohan Christmas Cinematic Universe, LHCCU.
Mm-hmm. I'm just
Where
trying
were we?
this is not our normal recording schedule, so if this feels off, it's because it is. Yeah, so meanwhile, Kathy has to like hide Jack because like he is a human. He can speak English and, you know, he understands like basic ways about how to live in the world, but he still has a lot to learn. So she just, like any good parent, sits him in front of the TV and is like, hey, just learn what you need to learn from here. And you'll get it figured out. And he largely does. He like has incredible powers of like memory and retention. And he basically just watches like the Home Improvement channel and like Chopped until he gets really good at like handyman work and cooking. And like he just cooks her a pizza when she comes back from work, which is incredible.
But you know what he didn't learn on the television, Aaron?
What didn't he learn?
What is cancer?
there is a moment where he's like, "Oh, hey, Kathy, what's cancer?" He just says that, and she's like, "Oh, you found my dead husband's medical records somehow. That's crazy." But well, I think she does a pretty good job of explaining to him with no context, like, well, it's a bad thing that happens to some people, and like, yeah, I mean, if you were born yesterday and had no and you had fully different anatomical functions than other humans. Yeah, I think that's a pretty good way to explain that.
Yep.
Yeah. And, you know, they have a conversation about love and how it takes a long time to love someone and how Kathy just doesn't think love is in her vocabulary right now. But maybe this snowman can melt her frozen heart. You know, then the days roll on. You know, like it's I think this movie takes place over the course of like 2 weeks, but like over the course of these 2 weeks, time gets kind of compressed. There's at one point where Jack is like fixing the roof of Kathy's house, and he's doing it shirtless because he doesn't like to get warm. And another old lady is like driving her car when she sees him, and she drives by, and she doesn't like immediately crash into something, which is the joke you think you'd get here. She backs up, and that's what gets her stuck in the snowdrift, which I think is very fun. And then when he sees her crash, she's like, "Oh, hey, can I help you?" And she's like, "Yeah, absolutely." She's like completely so horny. And he's like, "Okay, you know what I'm going to do is I am going to get behind you and push. Is that okay?" She's like, "Oh, please." And it's a really good, you know, silly thing to do. But yeah, like she then basically is just like, "Hey, can you help me change a light bulb?" Basically, they give him like basically a nothing job to go do at this like rich lady's house. All her friends are there like watching him, and you know they're all like very horny for him. And somebody brings up the fact that like they need somebody to help with their middle school dance because they just don't have a carpenter or whatever. And he's like, "Oh yeah, well, I'm a fast learner and I've been watching a lot of TV, so I could do it." And he does. He's like really good at it and makes a bunch of friends with like the middle schoolers. And like, I have a soft spot for middle schoolers because like that is one, like with the hardest age to be, and two,
Yes.
like you're still very much a kid. So like watching the like middle school romance that happens here, it's like a C plot, right? But it's still cute to watch Matthew and this other girl, like he asks her to the dance, and that's how Jack learns about romance, which is very funny. But yeah, there's just like a bunch of fun stuff where he's like helping set up decorations for the middle school dance. There's also a moment where like, you know, after Jack has been out for a while, Kathy is like trying to hide him, and they have another run in with Sheriff Hunter, who's like really suspicious of him. And I just love the scene where they like have this like ice eating competition because the sheriff is like, "Oh, so you must be new in town." And Jack is like eating a bowl of ice because that's what he does because he's a snowman. And Jack's like, "Yeah, well, I just got here." And the sheriff's like, "Hey, why are you eating so much ice?" And he has the delivery of, "I like to eat the ice, sheriff," which is such a great line, delivered completely straight. And then they have an ice eating competition. It's really good.
It is really, really good is the thing. Also, so we talked about Kathy is Gretchen Wieners from Mean Girls, who has been, her oeuvre is now these Christmas movies. Jack is Ted from Schitt's Creek. So also a comedic powerhouse. And they're just, they're so charming. And Kathy is such a great straight man in this because she's like just trying to get him not arrested.
Right.
And Jack is just trying to be a good person. Mm-hmm. But being a good person is at odds with his one command, which is lay low. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, this ice eating competition is just, I like ACAB, but if there is a cop in a movie, I do like it when it's a small town cop just taking their job way too fucking seriously.
Right.
In a way that's genuinely funny. And then you have, you know, his deputy running around behind him going, I'm so sorry. Like,
yeah.
Just
like he's a normal guy. At one point, Hunter says, like, I'd arrest a baby for a good beef barley, which is like, okay, yeah, that's his character. Sure. Yeah.
No,
also,
I agree.
Yeah, correct. Fuck them kids. There is also one part that we neglected to mention while they are watching TV. The beginning scene from the Christmas movie we watched 2 years ago, which is of course the Lindsay Lohan one that was made by Netflix, where she has amnesia, and there's like a still of her in the bed, and Kathy looks at her and goes, "Oh, that's funny. She looks just like a girl I went to high school with." Which is like, you know, I don't love when shows do like Easter eggs and fourth wall breaks like that, but that's come on, that's a good joke.
I loved it. I thought it was great. I loved to see Lindsay. Well, okay, so when I first saw this actress, I didn't realize that was Gretchen Wieners. To me, she looked like Meghan Markle. I was like, oh, they're gunning for some like Meghan Markle lookalike. And then Marty brought up that she looks like Gretchen Wieners. And then I looked at her a little while longer and I was like, oh, that's Gretchen Wieners. But it was like maybe 2 minutes before this scene that I realized that it was her. Mm-hmm. And then that line happened and I was like, well, I didn't even need to go to IMDb.
Yep. There you go. I think Lacey Chabert has done, like you said, a ton of these like weird movies now. You know what the last movie I saw her in that wasn't Mean Girls was? It was the Christian Mingle movie. So
get your bag, girl.
Yeah, listen, she's just out here. That movie was awful, but she was really given nothing to work with. So I'm very happy for Miss Chabert out here doing good movies because she's good at them. Yeah.
She like there's a scene later in the movie where they did not need to act it as hard as they did, and they did act it very hard, and it was really good. Because you need to kind of put everything into these movies to make them work. You have to buy into the concept.
Yeah, no, and they do, which I think is a huge bonus. But yeah, anyway, like Kathy and Jack kind of have this argument because she's like, "You got to stay low, man." But Jack is like, "I need to help people." You know, they have a small fight, but then Kathy realizes that he's like fixed all of the shit in her house for free, which is wild, except for the heater. That's important because if he gets too hot, he'll melt. So like her whole house is cold this entire movie. But like. Yeah, she's like, okay, fine. You've done so much stuff for me. I'm going to help you out. One thing that also he admits to is like, hey, yeah, I just figured out how to use the computer and I just bought a whole bunch of stuff for everyone, including replacing the window that I broke. And Kathy's like, how did you pay for that? And he's like, oh, well, they didn't ask me to pay. I just clicked it and it showed up. And she's like, okay, you used my credit card for this. And I was like, oh no, this man has accidentally bankrupted her.
Her diner seems to be doing pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if you have a monopoly in a small town, you can make a decent amount of money, I'm sure. But like, she didn't have enough money to like get her. It wasn't money. She was too depressed to call the repairman. That's what was happening.
Yeah. That's grief neglect.
Right. Anyway, they like start building up to this middle school dance. At some point, Jack is like, okay, I need to ask Kathy to the dance because I have feelings for her. And he asks Deputy Schatz to like how to dance firstly. We get a very cute scene of them dancing together. And then they like practice kissing, kind of. They don't like make out, but like he's like, okay, when a woman does this to you and like gets really close and like looks up at him and they lean in, and the whole while they're like talking about how like each other is like very attractive and you know very very much a catch, and that's like, all right, sure, you know what, everybody wins a little bit in this one.
Yeah, bisexuality is everywhere if you know how to look for it, you know. As you said.
100%. Anyway, it's a very funny scene. Like, everybody just seems to be having a good time in this movie, which I'm very excited about. It's just nice to see everybody just, like, goofing off. Anyway, they go to the dance together. He gives her a piece of jewelry that he bought with her credit card, which I think is perhaps a little gauche, but it's fine. And they have a dance. There's a big dance number where he dances with all the kids. He dances with Kathy. It's very sweet. But Kathy is still not quite ready to give her heart to him. Basically, this all culminates when the sheriff finds footage of him breaking into the store using an ATM camera. And then the sheriff tries to imprison him overnight through Christmas, and he's dying because he can't handle the heat in there. The whole town takes up a collection to bail him out, including the sheriff's son, who Jack has been wingmanning through the entire the film. That's very sweet. He dies. They bring him out. He's dead for a little bit. Kathy gives him a Christmas kiss that Pinocchio's him, turns him into a real boy. He is cold for the first time, and they go to Hawaii. And Coldplay is there. Coldplay is playing in the background. Coldplay
is playing in the background. So the scene where he's overheating in the I was gonna say in the hotel room. Nope, in the cell. That's the scene they were acting. Capital A, acting. Yeah. Jack was dying. Kathy had tears in her eyes. I was like, okay, yeah, I'm into this. I got a little emotional.
They went for it. Overall, pretty good movie, I thought. It kind of hit all the genre shit that I wanted. It was a tight 90. I was thrilled.
We really couldn't ask for more than that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know who, again, obviously there's some stuff which is he kind of knows way too much for a person who was literally born yesterday, but also that's not what you want out of this movie. You don't want hot, solid realism. But yeah, overall, if you're the kind of person who likes goofy Christmas movies or rom-coms, I think it's completely fine. It's a completely fun one of those.
Yeah, I personally had a great time, and I don't even like Christmas or Christmas movies all that much, but this, I don't know, it's just good. It wasn't too hammy on the Christmas stuff. It's just Christmas was happening and he was a snowman, but otherwise you could change the setting and the snowman contrivance to non-Christmas related things and it would still work. It's just a fun little light rom-com.
Yep. I thought it was a good time. So yeah, that's Hot Frosty. Big recommend from us here at Mortified. But yeah, that's kind of all we had for the first half of the episode, and I feel like the rest of it we're just gonna kind of briefly talk about what we've done this year.
Yeah.
So Leyla, I mean, just off the top, do you have any big overall thoughts about what our 5th season has looked like?
I think we've really found our groove. I feel like we found our groove probably a year or two ago, but we're really in it, and I feel like a lot of stuff listeners don't hear is us planning stuff, us going through suggestions. We've gotten pretty good at understanding what's probably going to make a good episode and what we'll actually have fun watching. We've very solidly gotten away from watching things that'll actively piss us off.
Right.
We're not like a rage watch podcast. We're very much we're trying earnestly to engage with the thing that we're experiencing podcast.
We ain't gonna do Avatar 3, folks.
Oh, Jesus Christ. No, please, no, please, no, please, no, please, no. Yeah, I feel good about our output, and I've been having fun, and it's always a delight to see you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think choosing to change the format to a twice a month instead of every week was really smart, just because we're both getting busier, we're getting older, and yeah, it does allow us to have a little bit more runway to plan up to things. Which I think was overall helpful. I'm sure some listeners miss having weekly episodes, but I assure you there's plenty of other people out there doing weekly episodes. But I'm pretty happy with what we've done. And in particular, I think that like if you are somebody who likes our show, if you think that we should have more listeners, which I think we should, I don't want us to be huge.
I'll take 50.
If you want to recommend people listen to our show, I really think our Iron Lung episode from this year is like maybe our best episode ever.
I agree.
Like it's just like that just kind of shows like what you can do if you practice having structured, thoughtful conversations about media for 5 years. You can kind of get an idea of like what it means to like critically look at a piece of media and see what it's trying to do. Also, that one was just like a short, like hour-long thing, so like it allowed us to really dig into the mechanics and the verb and the tone. Allowed us to do a little bit of extra background research. So yeah, like I'm just really proud of that Iron Lung episode. So if you're somebody who's like, oh yeah, I've got this podcast with two creatives, I think you should listen to them. Please recommend our Iron Lung episode, because that's I just think it's a really, really good piece of criticism. But we don't always do good criticism on this podcast, but sometimes we do funny criticism. Like we watched Rise of the Guardians and the Lorax was this year, and I'm never going to get over the Lorax wedging himself to heaven scene.
I'm never going to get over it either, or the fact that it did... Was that the one that made... No, The Last Tree was what made me cry. Mm-hmm. I did cry during that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, like, iconic filmmaking. Talk about buying into your own bit.
Yeah. Like, listen, they did not... I don't know, I think they probably knew it was a silly thing to do, but, like, nobody else in the movie is reacting the way that we reacted when that happened, which was good. Yeah, also, just seeing the origins of the Onceler, that's just, know your history, folks, right? If you're a young person who uses Tumblr, you should watch the Lorax just to know where all the self-cessed stuff comes from.
Yeah, I've seen a great deal of horny Onceler fan art in my time.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And like, listen, I have pretty rough taste in men, but not even I.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. We've put a lot of weird stuff in our bodies this year, intentionally. We've done both our Hot Ones flights as well as our Mountain Dew flights. And I don't know. Again, like, is that great audio? Like, probably not. But I was
pretty tasteful about what crunching I left in.
Yeah, listen, I think it was well done. I think that you got just the right amount of crunch in there. But like, yeah, I don't know. I think it's funny to do bits that are kind of awful with your friends as a joke. I hope that, honestly, the thing that I hope anybody who takes away from Mortified is, besides like doing earnest and thoughtful criticism of stuff, is like you should make stuff with your friends, because then you can do silly things like eat the hottest hot sauce you can conceive of.
Yeah, and if you would like to be a weird thing I put in my body,
oh my god. All the horny old women in this movie has possessed Leyla. We gotta... Okay. And with that, what's something you're looking forward to next year? What is there anything you wanna, you're looking forward to as we round the year out?
About this podcast specifically?
Just anything. Just like,
Damning silence. I'm moving to Maryland. That'll be a lot of fun. I'm very excited, which means we get to play a game, and I think we've had the Fast and Furious one on our list for a long time, so excited to get to that. And then in terms of the show, I feel like we're in a pretty good flow state. I'm super excited to do more like Bollywood stuff, because we had a blast doing the couple of movies that we got to do this year. I'm excited for us to find time to play more short games. And then I'm sure something insane will come out that we'll have fun covering. So
yeah,
those are my big beats. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, again, for this podcast, like, we mostly do it just to talk to each other, so like it doesn't really matter what we're covering. But we do have some interesting stuff on our ideas list. Like, I think it would be interesting to like talk about like do a Hugh Jackman roulette. I think that's a really fun idea. Or
friend of the show.
Yeah, friend of the show. Come on anytime, Mr. Jackman. Mission Impossible I think would be fun. And we've got a lot of ideas. Who knows if any of them will get implemented, but
do you remember when you applied to get us an early reader copy of the last Poppy War book?
Yes, I remember it fondly.
Do you think that we could take the audacity that we've gathered since? Do you think there's any way we could get Mr. Jackman's attention?
There's no way. Dog, there's no way. What would we possibly have to offer Hugh Jackman?
Listen, our vibes. I think there is an there's got to be like a change.org petition or something we can do.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
2025 is the year we bully Hugh Jackman onto our podcast.
Hugh Jackman, we love you. We follow your career very closely. The only thing we didn't like, and it wasn't your fault, was Pan.
You're right. You didn't make it racist on purpose.
No, it wasn't your fault. It wasn't your fault. You did great. Come on the show.
Yeah. We'll have our people get in touch with your people.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, just I'm in a weird place in my life where I am like, I just turned 30, so it's like I am still, thank you. I'm still a young person, but like not like a young man anymore. I'm just like a man. And creatively, I think I'm in a place where I can like do interesting stuff in the tabletop scene. I don't know what I'm going to do with my book writing here in the next couple of years. But we'll see, right? It's a lot. There's just a lot of up in the air right now. But I think I'm overall pretty hopeful for what the next couple of years will bring. I think I think as long as we like keep trying, I think it'll be okay.
Can I commission you to write my biography in the style of that weird Ali Yankovic movie in which Daniel Radcliffe played him?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. That's easy.
Yeah. Really make me sound cool and fictionalize me.
Mm-hmm.
You can 100%. Give me Catholic trauma if you want. I'm not Catholic, but...
I mean, everybody gets a little Catholic trauma when they're written by me.
Yeah.
Well, Leyla, when we are not, finishing out the year, where can we be found on the internet celebrating our greatness?
You can find me at LEYLSES on Blue Sky and Tumblr. I am currently, actually, if you are a person who works in the creative fields, I'm transferring all my essays to Medium finally. That is where they will live permanently. And I've also written a thing about how to write resumes and cover letters, and a thing about how to network that have been called broadly useful and good by people when they read them. So enjoy, take that for free, for fun. Next year, I will... I am slowly working on my webcomic. Hopefully next year I'll actually publish some part of it. Yeah. What about you?
You can find me on Blue Sky at AAVoit, on YouTube at AAVoit, where I make tabletop RPG essays. And you can go to my website, aavoit.com, where I talk about games and writing. Our theme song is Obsolete by Keshco from the album Filmmaker's Reference Kit Volume 2. You can find more of their music at keshco.bandcamp.com.
Oh, we haven't explicitly said this yet. We should explicitly say this. This is our last episode of the year.
Oh, yeah.
We will be back in January 2025 with a refreshed look.
Yep.
I'll refresh the art over break.
Yep, Season 6 reboot. We will see you then. But to close out this episode, Leyla, what shall we say?
Turkey!
We'll see you all next year.